Some medical advice for you. If you are going to get sick in the depths of winter, don't get the flu and a throat infection at the same time. I have 3 mugs of tea on my desk here at the moment because I am not and have never been a coffee drinker, and hopefully this goes well. Alright, so if my voice starts to break up a bit at the end, I apologise. But we are at the end of July. There is a mock draft to do, and let's get some youngsters to your favourite club. Let's go. Sorry to be boring, Richmond fans, but I still can't really go past Jagger Smith here at pick 1 for you. I don't really know what else I can say about Jagger that hasn't already been mentioned. Averaged 29 disposals at the National Championships and just keeps rising up my boards at the moment. I know he's consistently around that sort of 2 to 6 mark and can't really scrape his way to that one spot, but he's just got what that Richmond midfield needs. He's got the ball winning ability, he's got the ball use, and he and Kane McAuliffe, I think, leading the charge of a second generation midfield with probably Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper. I don't think Dion Prestia's body is ever going to hold up at this point, and probably have thought that way for 2 or 3 years. That's not really a fresh or original opinion. We've all watched the poor human meatball's body break down over a period of time, and Jagger is the perfect man to add into this mix at this point. And Richmond, for me, probably have the most intriguing draft hand pre-draft pick trades of any club in the competition, so they're going to be in a really great spot to rebound under Adam Uze, and Jagger at 1 just makes the most sense. Speaking of sense, Luke Traynor to North Melbourne is just, again, another tick that makes perfect sense. Guys, Jordan Ridley, James Sicily, it's just what I see here. Nearly 20 disposals, 6 marks, 4.5 intercepts over the National Championships. He's cool, he's calm, he's collected. His ability to move a bit further up the ground is probably more Sicily-esque than Ridley at this point in time. Where that leaves a Charlie Comben, I'm not really sure. I do like Charlie behind the ball, and I think that's more, what my head says, but my heart would just really love for him to work out as a forward over the next decade, and I still think that North need that young, hopefully, key defender. I really like Griffin Logue, I think more than the average fan does, but Traynor to North, I think, is just going to work out beautifully for North. He's got the connection to the club as well, so 1-2, there you go. Levi Ashcroft to Brisbane here at 3, and if you haven't watched a mock draft of mine before, I did them for 2022 and 2023. Something that you need to know about me, and for those that have watched them, I apologise for repeating myself, is that I am a massive fan of bidding on academies and father-sons way early. Right, I think Nick Dacos got taken at 4. It's a joke to me, an absolute joke. But now that we've got the academy rules of they can be matched from anywhere, in my opinion, fuck them, make them pay. Now, Levi's obviously a father-son and not an academy pick, but still, Brisbane are going to get the 20% discount anyway, I think. I hope I've got that rule right. Make them pay for it. And what's the downside if Brisbane say no, which they won't, I know that. But West Coast get Levi Ashcroft. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Make them pay for it. Levi had a really good carnival as well. Averaged nearly 26 disposals, and I don't think did his draft qualities any harm. I'm not one that's really going to question a whole lot about 18-year-olds at this point in time. A lot of people, especially in my comment section, are a little bit worried about his ball use and things like that. We're in July, and look, even Crook and Cranky Daz is going to keep his glass half full, alright? So, shoot me. I don't know. This is going to piss off the Adelaide fans. Sid Draper to West Coast, which, if you couldn't tell from the thumbnail, is Sid Draper going to West Coast. This guy is just him. Can I just say he's him? It just seems like he's him at this point in time. Had a really good carnival as well. Or not every game was legendary and he didn't get to that MVP status that he got last year, but the fact that he was able to recover from a slow start, he showed that resilience and was still able to get involved in a pretty bad South Australian team, it's got to be said, was really good to see. And I don't think dropped his quality in any way at all. And on ESPN, they had him as number 1 in the power rankings. So West Coast need midfielders. I reckon of all of them that are left, he's the next best one. It just makes sense. Adelaide take Finn O'Sullivan here. Now, I do like the emergence of Billy Dowling, and I know Hugh Bond has played some defensive tagging roles, but has the ability to go through there. What are we going to see from Charlie Edwards moving forward? Zach Taylor has given himself some AFL exposure as well, but they have got to keep regenerating this midfield. Yes, Tex Walker's got not long left in the AFL system, but at some point you've got to trust Fogarty and Thilthorpe and see what they've got without him there. Down back, yes, they've got some injuries there, Nick Murray, Jordan Butts, but you've got that key position there if Mark Keane stays, which at this point, hard to say. I think he will though. So maybe you don't have to reach for a key position defender who's just not really there at this pick. And considering you've got a midfield that is still containing a wanting to handball backwards Rory Laird is a little bit of a problem. I like Jake Saligo a lot, but they need some better winners in there. Finn O'Sullivan can provide that. I love that he's back playing footy. Can't wait to monitor him for the second half of the season. His carnival stats and his stats from this year because of his hand injuries do not do him any harm at all. He's not injury prone though. He's just been unlucky. And what he's been able to put together before that is giving him a lot of credits in the bank. And if we're able to see his top form in the back end of the season, I think a lot of Adelaide fans that maybe don't watch draft stuff from a year or so out, and I don't blame you if you don't, probably will like this pick more and more as he hits top form in the back half of the year. Lombard goes here at pick 6, averaged 26 disposals and a goal throughout the National Carnival for the Allies. What more can you say? Make them pay. Bid, bid, bid. I wouldn't even be surprised if someone bid on him earlier than this, to be completely honest. And it's where my predictive mock drafts come the end of the year fall to shit. Because for some reason, clubs want to play nice, and I hate it. But 26-1 is an extraordinary output for such a young player. And yet, I think where Gold Coast's problem here is that Matt Rao can't really play another position. So when you think of Lombard, Jake Rogers, who they've gotten, where are these guys going to start their careers? And if they're on the half-forward flanks with Ben Ainsworth, that probably only means they've got Malcolm Roses as a pure small forward. Is that a bit of a problem structurally moving forward? Who knows? That's not Lombard's problem. He'll end up at the Suns, and I think underratingly could be the best player out of this draft 5 years from now. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I've got the Saints taking Harvey Langford here, 190 centimetres, the Lark medalist, and holy crap, did he put together an unbelievable carnival. The man adjudged co-best throughout the carnival. Nearly 26 disposals, had 1 goal, 32 disposals, and 10 marks in his first game post the carnival as well. His draft stocks are rising rapidly, and can you imagine 2 years from now, that St Kilda midfield with Steele, and even if Steele's not there, Jack Sinclair, Mateus Filippo, and Harvey Langford. If you're not excited by that as a St Kilda fan, I can't help you. What a combination it would be. 2 tall midfielders, and no one's ever going to complain about having taller midfielders, especially when both of them are really clean below their feet, penetrating kicks. This, for me, match heaven made. Freo's first pick is going to go to Sam Layla, who, again, I like as a centre forward player. Yes, he's got a really nice resume in the midfield. Where that's going to fit in a Brayshaw, Sarong, Young kind of arrangement, I don't really know. I know having a guy like Neil Erasmus who can't get into the senior team consistently, you may wonder whether that high half forward is going to be a spot that Freo prioritise a little bit, whereas you've still got Bailey Banfield, Sam Switkowski, these kinds of players. But the touch, the class, the ability, what Sam Layla's been able to do in hitting the scoreboard as well, might be just too tantalising for Freo to pass over, I reckon. A real decent fit, this one. And from those in the know, a ripping lad as well. Not that any of the others I've already spoken about are not. That's not what I'm saying. But the ones that have told me consistently that he's a ripping lad, which we love to see. Make the Bombers pay Isaac Keiko at pick 9, which is going to be higher than I think anyone else is going to have him going. But for crying out loud, make clubs pay. I promise you at some point I am going to stop bringing that up. Alright, but still, make them pay, who had a ridiculously good carnival, don't get me wrong. Now, I've completely forgotten what he'd done in the games that he had back, so I am actually going to read this off my laptop here, but he had 25 and 3 a fortnight ago with 7 tackles, if you don't mind, umpire. He had 19 and kick 2 last week with 7 marks. Like, come on. And you're thinking of just 15 disposals throughout the carnival. 15 disposals from this guy is going to produce something of ridiculous quality. Right, and it's just extraordinary what he's able to do. He's going to go to the Bombers, tied to their next generation academy. Pay up. Been quite a fall for Josh Smiley in this mock draft, but I've got him going to Melbourne here at pick 10. I just didn't really see throughout the entire carnival him grab a game or consistent moments by the scruff of the neck. 194 centimetres is still a ridiculously good size for a midfielder, don't get me wrong. And look, him dropping down the board could be for similar reasons that a Paddy Cripps did, who was eventually taken, I think, with pick 13. Back in 2013, sounds about right. Could be completely wrong on the year. Anywho, I think with Josh, who didn't average 20 disposals throughout the carnival, which is a touch concerning, but I think that he needs to go to a club that can enhance his strengths rather than trying to get him to fix his weaknesses first. Make him as good as he can be at his strengths and then minimise his deficiencies. And I reckon a club like Melbourne, whether they keep Oliver or not, could be the way to go. Petrarca could get more on the outside. Viney's got another bigger body in there. And if Melbourne are one of the clubs rumoured to be going after Hawthorn's Connor Nash, which they are, and they don't get him, because I think Connor's going to stay at the Hawks, 194 centimetres. I think Connor's 196, 7, around that mark. What you wanted Connor to do, go get him. The Hawks are the weirdest team to mock at the moment because they don't want this pick. Whether it goes to the Eagles for Tom Barrass is going to be an interesting question. It would have been floated in a Bailey Smith trade, but I'm reasonably confident he's going to the Cats now. The Hawks don't want this, and I don't really blame them because positionally it seems like they want tools. Battle, Barrass, those things make sense. So drafting an 18-year-old in this mock draft at pick 11, is kind of pointless. The Hawks have already got young tools at both ends of the ground. Cole Shadir, Jasper Scaife up forward, and then down back. They've had Jai Sarong there. And Will McCabe is your intercepting defender a la James Sicily. So having a key defender in this spot doesn't make a lot of sense. The Hawks don't need another midfielder. Josh Ward's played a couple of games in a row, can't get a consistent spot. Cam McKenzie, top 10 pick, can't get a consistent spot. The Hawks don't need wingers. Got Massimo D'Ambrosio for that. Weddle, CJ, Amon, these guys can all play on the wing. Harry Morrison can't get a spot. He's a wingman. You've got the Rascal up forward. You don't really need a Joe Berry then because you've got Ginnivan, you've got Watson, you've got Moore, you've got McDonald as your high half forwards. But Connor McDonald's the interesting one because those at Hawthorn rate him as a midfielder. So can you find someone with a similar profile to Connor McDonald to play like Connor McDonald when Connor McDonald goes into the midfield? I reckon you can, and I reckon it's Murphy Reid. I know that's a really long explanation. I'll apologise for that, Hawks fans. But 24 disposals, 3 clearances, and hit the scoreboard is really good carnival numbers from Big Murph. But I also understand Hawthorn fans that you're going to take this with a grain of salt, because by hook or by crook, Hawthorn are not taking a pick as it stands. They are not taking their first selection. But for the sake of a mock draft, they've got to take someone, and I don't say that disrespectfully. I think this guy's draft rise is as good as anyone's and has the football IQ and the ball use that Sam Mitchell would fall in love with. So I still think it's a worthy pick. Back to Gold Coast, they chased Daniel Rioli, or it's supposed they're going to chase Daniel Rioli, so why not give up 2 first-round picks for Daniel Rioli and just go get the best rebounding defender in the draft? Toby Travalia would be the man for that role, who's averaged something like 8 intercepts throughout the carnival. Genuinely ridiculous numbers, putting up over 20 disposals and just looking a class above when he exits the defensive 50. His ability to hit that difficult kick on the 45 at different speeds just oozes quality at this point in time, and someone who I'm a massive fan of. So, yes, 2 first-round picks for Daniel Rioli was the story. I did a video on it. It looks like that's not really true, but I can also understand the appeal of a rebounding defender, and Travalia is that guy. It actually would not surprise me if Freo took Joe Berry first instead of praying he gets to their second pick. And if there's one guy at the moment who is becoming a premium in this draft, it is this man. There are 2 people that are absolutely thrilled with Isaac Keiko being a part of Essendon's Next Generation Academy. And it's Essendon and it's Joe Berry. Because instead of a 2-horse race between the best small forward, one of them's off the table. And then you go, who's the next best small forward? Well, it's probably Malachi Champion from Subiaco as a pure small forward, not a forward midfielder or anything like that. A pure small forward. Well, it's Malachi Champion, who's going to go to West Coast with their academy. So you've got all these clubs who potentially could want a small forward and would be getting a guy who averages 3 tackles, 2 goals through the carnival, had 20 and 2 a fortnight ago, and 22 and a goal last week in the under-18s. Like, he's going to be taken real early. And I don't think clubs are going to pull out a Phoenix Gothard like GWS did last year. So I think there's going to be a genuine auction for this guy. And if he keeps these numbers up, he is going top 10 in August for me. He's so bloody good to watch too. I love Joe Berry a whole lot. And when I release my favourite draftees video, if he's not there, I feel like something's gone wrong in the Daz HQ writing process. So keep an eye out for that when that comes out. Geelong, go get a tall forward. The bloke that kicked 3 goals a game in his 3 games at the carnival would be a pretty good get. Harry Armstrong would be the answer here. Gave them Jonty Fall in the last mock draft from memory. He's the best tall forward in the draft, guys. Go get Harry Armstrong. Hawk is not going to be there for a whole while longer. Yes, Jezza is in his 30s and does look athletically like he is nowhere near approaching the cliff yet. But if you've got Armstrong, Shannon Neal leading that charge, and Jeremy Cameron can almost become your second tall, would be the dream. Now, he's obviously going to be your first based on stature and skill and resume and all these kinds of things. Absolutely he is. But as Jezza maybe works his way up the field a little bit, if you've got the 2 bigger bodies inside your forward 50 are going to be golden. And I know Geelong need midfielders as well, but they're probably going to land Bailey Smith. They may not even have this pick entirely, but we don't do trades here at Daz HQ. And I think the Cats should get Bailey Smith and trade back into the first round and get this guy. It just makes perfect sense. They got O'Sullivan in the last draft. You get Harry Armstrong in this one. There's your 2 bookends done for the next 10 to 12 years. And then you got Bailey Smith for your midfield. Gold. Which which is a Hawthorn fan now that I think about it, sucks. So Geelong, don't do this. I shouldn't say that. Xavier Lindsay to the GWS Giants is going to be my next pick here, who I think is just the perfect Harry Perryman kind of replacement, especially on the outside, especially on that wing. Now, I know that the Giants are running wingers at the moment pretty effectively at this point in time. I think Darcy Jones is going to be really good at that spot, but I think Finn Callaghan needs to get off the wing as fast as possible from a permanent standpoint. And then you've got Lindsay, who can go out there on a wing. You've also got Josh Fay, who can go out there on a wing as well, so you can get your youngsters involved in that way massively. I think Perryman's going to end up at Port. He's going to be my July prediction there, so with more info, I can change my opinion. I know that's difficult for some people to grasp, but it is true. But Lindsay had a really, really good carnival, well over 20 disposals on average in his 2 under 18 games. I got them here, had 31 and 10 marks a fortnight ago and had 26 disposals and 1 goal 3 last week, which is just crazy good, and would be an awesome fit at the Giants, who aren't really missing a whole lot list demographic-wise, are they? Not really. In a perfect world, Carlton would trade up to try and get Joe Berry because as a small forward, he just fits everything that they need, but can't do that in this one. So Jobe Shanahan is going to be the answer. The Bendigo Pioneers, perfect third tall foil for Curnow and Mackay. He's not going to be the guy, or maybe he can be, but I feel like with Harry and Charlie's abilities, Harry's probably a little bit more so when they play together. Ability to get up the ground and be that release kick from the defensive 50. If he can turn and go, Jobe can be your link-up guy and get Charlie to play from goal square to front 60 and already be potentially as if not more potent. Now, I know that's in a perfect world, but still, perfect worlds are kind of what July mock drafts are for, right? Like, let's be honest. So, a guy that, did kick his 1.2 goals throughout the carnival. Did your job, mate, beautifully. Thank you very much. Had 20 and kicked a snag a couple of weeks ago in the under-18s. And sure, he's going to have days where he's not touching the footy a whole lot. Forwards are like that, especially at under-18s level. But I see a lot of potential in this guy. And draft watchers are as well. I'm not saying I'm plucking him from the sky, but I like him a lot. Really sure kick at goal as well. Freo's last pick is going to be Bo Allen. It's not for the home factor, but I think his positional versatility is really going to suit long-term the Freo way that they want to play. They're pretty rigid in their midfield rotation, and you've got, Jeremy Sharp on one wing, but you've got Nathan O'Driscoll, who can either do wing, half-back, Heath Chapman, wing, half-back, Josh Draper, these kind of guys. Whereas, yes, Bo Allen, you can see on his positional analysis on, I think it's Kaltumi and ESPN, have him as a def mid. He has played waffle footy on the wing and can play on the outside as well. And Freo are also a footy club where not all three of their first round picks, if they have them at all, by the way, could still be chasing Chad Warner in a massive way and not have any of them. But Freo are also, in the next 12 to 24 months, not in a position where they would need to play him in round 1 of 2025 either. Alright, and he's still a really good talent. Also a really good defensive player as well, so 4 clearances and 6 tackles in that 20 disposal count at the carnival, so massive tick for Bo. Sydney, who have got an opportunity here to go tall. So they're going to. Let's start with Jonty Fall, a guy who entered my mock drafts for the first time last month to the Cats. It was who would end up at the Swans here. Yes, I know they have already got 3 tall forwards. Daz, what the hell are you doing giving them another tall forward? I don't think anyone thinks their tall forwards are good enough at this point in time. They definitely don't need another midfielder, even if Warner goes. They definitely don't need a winger. So, who's to say that Jonty couldn't have 2 or 3 years of development and then see where they're at? If Amadi doesn't work out, if McLean doesn't work out. and they've got him there ready to go. Not every first round pick needs to play early, especially if you're going to a good team and you're a key position player, especially if you're a forward. So I still really like the fit for the Swans. I worry about their tall forwards in a massive way. And we can go to their second tall that I'm taking here, this time at the other end of the ground, and that's going to be Harry O'Farrell, who didn't have the greatest carnival. It needs to be said, but, back shoulder defender, and by Christ does Sydney need that. Outside of Tom McCartan, they look bare. I've got a lot of respect for Robbie Fox. I like Robbie Fox a lot. But Lewis Melican, probably not the answer. Aaron Francis is definitely not the answer. So, Tom McCartan can probably be your half back shoulder, half intercept kind of player. And Tom McCartan's probably my third favourite key defender in the league, outside of Sam Taylor and Jacob Wiedering. So I think it's a beautiful fit. The Hoff. That's either a really good nickname or a really shit one. You guys will have to comment and let me know. What's that about making them pay? Yep, Sam Marshall to Brisbane, the academy kid, who ripped the carnival apart. Really, really good numbers. What do you have? 27 disposals, 4 clearances and 4 tackles as, a building block. They speak about his footy IQ massively, considering that Levi and him are coming in. It's going to be a relatively boring in terms of unpredictability for Brisbane in this draft. Who gives a stuff? These two. Well, let's not talk about Levi, I've already done that. But Sam, at this point in time, really handy. Now, what does that mean for a midfield rotation that will already contain 2 Ashcroft brothers, Lachie Neale, Josh Dunkley and Hugh McCluggage? Good question. Does he need to play straight away? No, he doesn't. See every opinion I've had before this one. But he's going to end up at Brisbane, and in my opinion, Gold Coast should make them fucking pay for it. And speaking of Gold Coast, can never have too many centre-forward threats. Taj Houghton is going to be the man that I am looking at here. Averaged nearly 29 disposals and 2 goals in his Talent League games before doing his ACL, which drops him down my mock draft board. And one of my absolute favourite players he was coming into the year. So I am fucking shattered that he did this. And I know that I've said something similar in a lot of the mock drafts already, but my God, my heart goes out to this young man. But I think Gold Coast would be a really good fit for him. I don't think, yes, you would argue with those numbers, midfield could be the place that he plays post his ACL. But as we've seen with someone like an Elijah Hollands, for example, who had something similar, was really difficult to break into the midfield there. Now, I know situations can be a little bit different, but I think his ability to be a centre-forward threat, and a major one at that, sets him differently to Elijah. Not apart necessarily, but differently. And that last pick to the Suns, I don't think is going to be theirs. I think they're going to trade it out on the night. And he's a pick that I would love either Port Adelaide to trade up for, because I think their first pick's at 30. It's a pick I would also recommend Geelong trying to get into, especially if they trade for Bailey Smith and that first pick of theirs is off the table. I think that would be a really good spot for them to jump into, that back end of the first round. I also think that a club like West Coast or Adelaide would do really well to jump in at this point, and probably a Collingwood would be a really good team to try and grab that pick. So the voice is just about going at this point in time, guys, so I'm going to get out of here. I am so sorry if the presentation is not the standard that you expect. August will be better, I promise you. It was not a great weekend for me, but the Hawks had a massive win, which I love. I hope you have had a really good time, whether it's work, with love, life, your mates, your footy team, the Olympics. If you're watching the Olympics, I'm fucking obsessed with water polo. I think it's because I am convinced that it looks easy enough, but I know I'd die. So yes, the 100-metre sprint looks difficult, but I'm never going to be good at that. But I can convince myself that I could be good at water polo while also knowing that I would die if I tried. I think that's why I like it so much. That's probably weird, but I don't care. Look after yourselves, guys. The round 21 preview I'll be recording tomorrow when this comes out, so hopefully the voice is doing a little bit better and we can get a pep back into Daz's step. So look after yourselves, look after each other, you absolute legends. And if you want to watch another video that Daz has done, they'll probably be appearing here, and take care.